Catherine Kellaway, and I'm a director at Goodman Masson. I've been recruiting for just over 11 years now, and in that time I've seen LinkedIn grow to be one of the largest networking and job platforms out there. We've now got 28 million people in the UK registered on LinkedIn, and every second, LinkedIn get 2 new users. So it's definitely a platform that you want to be registered on. So today I'm going to talk through how to build your LinkedIn profile, highlighting important areas that you need to focus on in order to ensure that your profile stands out. I'll then be moving on to talking about how to use your LinkedIn profile, so how you get the most out of it once you've got it up and running. And then I'll end on sharing any tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years as someone who uses LinkedIn every day. If you do have any questions as we move through the presentation, just pop those in the question box on the right hand side and I'll answer all the questions at the end. So I'll talk you through the key things that I would focus on when building your profile on LinkedIn. Once I've talked you through these, I'll actually show you my LinkedIn and where I've followed what I'm talking you through. So the first thing, the picture. Having a good LinkedIn photo is so important. It's the first thing that people see. So some interesting facts from LinkedIn. You're 21 times more likely to have your profile viewed if you have a picture, and 9 times more likely to have a connection request if you've got a picture. A couple of practical tips that I've received. Make sure it's a recent photo. 60% of the picture should be of you. You don't want other people in there. It is just be focused on yourself. Avoid selfies and have a picture that's nice, smiley and approachable and professional at the same time. So the second thing to draw your attention to is the headline. So this is the first thing that people will read. Now, the headline actually pulls from the job title that you input when you initially set up your profile. You can change this, and you should change this to make sure that it's as relevant as possible. So for example, if you were a shop assistant, but you wanted to highlight that actually your experience as a shop assistant was in luxury goods, you could put shop assistant -luxury goods. Why you want to make that as relevant as possible is that everything on LinkedIn is searchable. So you really want to highlight exactly what you do. So the next written section on your profile will be your summary. That is your about section, and it basically gives a quick summary of who you are, what you do, how you do it. This section, a good kind of tip for the is to keep it short. You can include an area of expertise. It's a good way that allows you to get in a lot of keywords. Now, when I say keywords, they are things that are relevant to your job title and exactly what you do. So for example, in recruitment, it might be words like searching for CVs, relationship building, customer service, relationship management, contracts, interim, permanent. And I would want those words to appear on my profile. So if someone was searching for recruiters, I would come up in their search. In terms of how to find relevant keywords for your area, I've got a tip which I'll show you when we come onto my profile. Experience and education. So with this, you want it to be in chronological order. So with the most recent experience and education first. You want, again, to keep this simple. It's not a CV, so you don't want absolutely everything you've done under each job. You want to just kind of give a quick overview of your experience, highlighting any achievements and progression that you've achieved, and same with your education. So highlighting, it's a chance to sell yourself, so highlighting what you think is most relevant and most important. The skills section, so LinkedIn allows you up to 50 skills that you can attach to your profile, and with those skills you ask people to sign up to say that you have those skills, so they'll acknowledge that you have those skills and are good at those skills. So if a previous manager or colleague has said you were really good at customer service, that might be something that you add onto your profile and ask them to endorse you for. So a couple of other key points to building your profile: keeping it in the first person. So I am a director at Goodman Masson. I'm passionate about, it should be personalized. LinkedIn have done a lot of research into this, and this is the way that it is best received. So it's more personable. As I've mentioned, as I've talked through those key areas, keeping it really clear and to the point. So a good tip to use is to use bullet points to highlight achievements or results. And you just want to make sure that once I think the biggest mistake people make is they'll start a profile and register but not put a picture on. So you want to kind of complete the areas that I've just talked through. So I'm just going to jump onto my LinkedIn profile now, just to show you how I have followed those points that we've talked through there. So as you can see, I've got a picture mainly of my face. My headline's very clear that I'm a director. I could tailor that further. I have previously in my career had that more specialised. At the moment, I feel that's the most relevant to focus on. And you can see this about section that I said to kind of keep brief. It does go into more detail, but when you first look at someone's profile, you actually only see the first 2 lines. So getting the key information. So for me, I work in recruitment. I want to hear from you if you want to either make a hire or if you're interested in joining us, reach out to me. And again, I've talked in the first person there. I would love to talk to you. Then just moving on to experience. So you can see that, you know, in one glance, you can see kind of my career. I think famously recruiters and hiring managers spend about 6 seconds looking at a CV. You know, it's similar to a LinkedIn profile. So you want to kind of keep it short and to the point. Something I've done is, you know, I've put my awards, I've put things that are achievements as I've moved through my career. Now, just jumping onto my experience from my last company, this section here is actually for a description, but I've used it to show my progression in the company. So I've put my the 3 kind of jobs that I moved between whilst I was at that company, so that it kind of shows clearly within that role. Again, education, up to you to put exactly what you want to highlight. And then the skills that I've talked about. So I've asked people to, you know, previous managers, colleagues, people that I've worked with to endorse me for these skill sets. And then in terms of seeing that your profile is complete, this is a section here where you can see that LinkedIn kind of prompts you to work through each section. Okay, just jumping back to the presentation. So moving on to, once you've built your LinkedIn profile, how do you get the most out of it? How do you make the platform work for you? So the first thing is to make sure you're active on there and connect with people. LinkedIn is centered on connecting with people, and that helps you find jobs and unlock networks that you perhaps might not have access to if you weren't on LinkedIn. So you need to send requests to people. Personalizing these messages is a good tip, and I'll show you how you do that. And LinkedIn will actually, based on the information that you input, LinkedIn will actually provide you with suggestions of who you might want to connect with. Secondly, a good way to use LinkedIn is actually to apply directly on companies' LinkedIn pages to their jobs. So you can follow companies, and each company will usually have a section of their LinkedIn profile, of their company LinkedIn profile, showing you the jobs that they have available. You can join relevant groups. So groups are sometimes open, usually closed and managed by someone. And they're people that have a particular interest. So for example, if you worked in retail, it might be Retail Professionals Network, and talking about, you know, the challenges or opportunities in the retail place. You can share articles that you're interested in. You can interact with posts, so kind of like, comment, similar to other social media platforms. You can follow companies that you're interested in, as I mentioned, and keeping your profile up to date is pretty important. So I'm just going to jump back onto my profile to show you those points that I've talked about. So in terms of visible and connecting with people, that really kind of comes in this section here. So you can write a post, you can post things. You can see I follow a couple of hashtags of things that I'm interested in. So some parts linked to my work, some parts linked to areas that I think are important. So my personal development, gender, feminism. So those other people that post hashtags with those keywords will show up on my post. I follow lots of companies, as I mentioned. So if I just go back to my profile. So you can see here that my interests. So there's companies that I follow. Now, these are companies for me that are relevant to the recruitment that I do or that I'm interested in. There's groups that I join. So, for example, I'm interested in diversity in the workplace. So I've joined this group and I get great ideas shared and opportunity to network with people that I wouldn't have otherwise. In terms of interacting with posts, so I can kind of comment or like these posts. So I could give this a like, I could comment on it if I thought it was a particularly interesting article. In terms of following jobs, so for example, at the moment, I might be thinking, right, okay, Tesco has been busy. I've seen in the press, and I know there's an office around the corner from me. I'm going to follow Tesco. So you can just search any company that you're aware of there and follow Tesco. I could then start to look at, this is Tesco's LinkedIn page. I could then look at their jobs. And looking at Tesco's jobs, I can actually go to look at all their jobs. Once I get to this page, I can then filter, for example, what's the most recent jobs they're posting. I want to look at all their entry-level recent jobs and see what's most relevant to me. So you can filter that as much as you like. Actually, once you've set that up, you can set up a saved job search. So if I've set up a search that I think actually this is really relevant, anything that came up in this job search, I would want to see on a daily basis. So you would then get email notifications through to the email that's linked to your LinkedIn. And so you can manage those job alerts and you can have as many as you like. I think that was everything I talked through there. So just to show you the keywords whilst I'm out of the presentation. So something you can do to kind of pick keywords that might be relevant to your profile. You can go and look at job adverts. So for example, this one here, you could paste this into, so if you Google tag crowd, this is a tool that shows you the keywords, the kind of that are showing again in adverts. So if you pasted a couple of adverts, so the one I did before was a retail one, you can see this one, the keywords you'd want to have if you found that was a relevant job would be maintenance, store, technician, costs. So you want to you could do that with a couple of adverts and see what is most relevant to your role from the adverts that you're looking at. Okay, so finally moving on to tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years. So I just showed you there how to set up, very quickly showed you how that you can set up a job alert. Now you can actually do that not just for one company, but you can do that for generically for a job title. I'll show you that quickly. Now you can change your URL as well. Your URL is basically your link on LinkedIn. Now why you'd want to change that is everybody has one, and at the moment it will just be a couple of numbers, perhaps with some part of your name. It's if you wanted to send to somebody in a LinkedIn message, here's my profile, please check it out and let me know if you'd be interested in meeting for a coffee, for example. You can change it so it looks a little bit slicker. So it's just LinkedIn at your name. I think it also makes you show up higher on searches. So it's definitely something I'd recommend doing. So you can also ask for recommendations. So, you know, you've worked with somebody before and they've mentioned that they really enjoyed working with you, they compliment your work, you can ask them to actually recommend you on LinkedIn. These kind of act as references, and if you're going for an interview, you could point someone to have a look at your LinkedIn recommendations. Visibility settings, I'll show you this. This is something that you can kind of customize as you like. Now, just to note, I've run through quite a lot of information there, and there is a lot of information on LinkedIn in about 15 minutes. LinkedIn do some really good kind of bite-sized videos. So if you go to this address, linkedin.com, learning LinkedIn, setting up a new LinkedIn account, there's bite-sized videos on each of these sections walking you through exactly how to add in each section, so going into a little bit more detail. So I'll just show you those last points and then we'll move on to any questions. So if we go back to the job, so for example, if in this search function, if I wanted to put in, okay, I'm going to search for a retail assistant, and you want to kind of use what LinkedIn is suggesting because they're the most common job titles. So then I want to look at retail assistants in London, and you can do postcodes here, but I want to look at entry level. I want to look at, you can build the filters down. So I'm going to take off Tesco here and just have a look at all companies. So entry level roles in London, I want to look at the most recent ones that have been posted, and then I can see those there. Now I can actually, once I see a job and think, actually, this is something I'm really interested in, I'm going to save that job, and you can save as many jobs as you like, and you can then manage your saved jobs by applying. You can work through these, so you could have a session of working through jobs, sorting out a couple that you want to apply to, and then applying, and it will show you whether you've applied to them here, so you can manage your jobs actually on LinkedIn. In terms of showing people that you are open for opportunities, if you're actively looking for work, something I would recommend doing. So just on your profile, if you go to this section and put interested in finding job opportunities, and you just tick that there to show people that you are looking for opportunities. And then in terms of customizing your URL, that point I mentioned of making it slightly slicker, you can see here I've already done this. So anywhere you see the pencil means you could edit. So this used to be a load of numbers. I've just changed this to C. Kellaway. So if I then go to message somebody, so for example here, so I can share my profile via a message, and then you can see my URL just comes up there. In terms of recommendations, so just at the bottom of your profile, you can ask for a recommendation there. You can see I've given a couple and received a couple. So if I was, wanting to point to people, I could point them to have a look at these recommendations. In terms of your visibility, this is in the settings and something that you can manage. And for example, you might want to update your profile and not have it post on the feed that you've updated your education, you've updated your experience as you're building your profile. However, once if you get a promotion, for example, you might want to show that you've received a promotion. So you just go to your settings and you can choose what is and isn't viewed. So you can just work through this, and there's visibility settings for everything that you do on LinkedIn. So you can work through that in a bit more detail. Perfect. So thanks very much for listening. I hope that's been useful. As I mentioned, LinkedIn do have some great videos that I'd really recommend looking at just to enhance your profile. And I'll just have a look.